Here I have a Kodak Retina IIC camera, big C. You can tell by the matching large windows at the front of the top housing there for the viewfinder. And this one I'm about to clean and adjust the rangefinder. So I'll show you how I go about doing that. This camera's been here for a service and I've already done all the rest of the work, but I thought I'd step you through the process of doing the rangefinder. Now here, to remove the rewind knob, I just simply put something through the fork of the rewind shaft to stop it turning and unscrew the knob with my fingers. That's all that's required. You do not need to use a tool on that rewind knob. The top cover is now held with 3 screws. One at the end of the top cover, 2 on the top of the top cover near the rewind shaft. And the top cover should just lift off. Try not to disturb the shutter release. You do not want to lift that shutter release out of the camera body, or it will cause you lots of grief. So I'm lifting off my film release button and the shutter release button, not the shaft. Leave the shaft there. Now to stop this from getting loose, I'm going to put a rubber band across here to stop that getting loose. So I'll do that now. I'll put this rubber band across here. And that's to hold that shutter release shaft in place so it doesn't come loose. If it falls out of the camera, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So here's our rangefinder. Now to remove this, there are 2 screws. Here's the rangefinder off the camera. I'll shake out those screws and put them to one side. Here we have the rangefinder ready to be stripped down and cleaned. Alright, I've got to undo this screw. You may be able to get it loose with a pair of stiff tweezers. In this case that came loose. Lift off the screw and the wavy washer. Put those to one side. The arm should come off. Just slide it forward. Normally I mark the position of this so it goes back in the same place. That arm was against the body at the infinity position. That bush can come out. This piece can be put aside for cleaning. Here we have the body of the rangefinder. This screw holds the retainer for the rear glass. That can be tipped out. Put that aside for cleaning. Remove the screw. Here's a washer. Lift out this. This has got the frame lines on it. It's very delicate, easily damaged. Do not touch it with anything. Here is a washer underneath, a spacer. Make sure you don't lose that. This piece now is ready for cleaning. This surface on the front, is plain glass. You can clean that with a cotton bud. The inside surface here, do not touch it with a cotton bud. You'll wipe the silver off it. You can clean this surface, and that's probably the dirtiest surface. This mirror is front surface silvered. The silver is on the front of the glass. It's very delicate. Do not touch it with anything. You'll make a mark on it. You'll never get the mark off. What I do now is I clean this area with some naphtha, and then I clean this whole piece in an ultrasonic cleaner. Once I've got it clean, I clean the other components and put it back together. There's not much dirt on there. I'll clean this surface. Again, there's not much coming off there. And the outside edge where the return spring runs. I can clean that screw. That washer. And that bush. Put those to one side. Got to clean this in the ultrasonic cleaner. To clean the viewfinder, rangefinder body in the ultrasonic cleaner, I start with a couple of drops of dishwashing detergent in a glass, run some warm water, place the rangefinder in the glass, set this to 3 minutes, start the ultrasonic cleaner and wait for it to finish. When the cleaning's finished, remove the rangefinder, rinse it thoroughly, shake off any water, blow off all the water and then dry with a hairdryer, making sure you don't leave any water droplets on the rangefinder. The rangefinder is nice and clean now. There's no dust or haze on either of those mirrors, and I just need to clean the other components and reassemble the rangefinder. Oh, and make the adjustments, of course. Alright, to continue on with cleaning the rangefinder, the main body is all clean now and ready to go. Got to clean the eyepiece lens. I'm just using domestic window cleaner, nothing fancy. That looks good. I'll just check that. The flat side goes outwards, the curved side goes inwards. Just making sure there's no finger marks on there, no dust. The retainer can be screwed into place. Here we have our frames. I'm just checking this against the light to see what state that's in. It looks pretty good. Drop that into position. I'll zoom you in a bit. This spacer went underneath that piece. That washer went on the outside. And a single retaining screw there. That's all done. I'm looking at the state of this mirror and I see a lot of marks on there. I think they're on the outside surface, the front surface. I'm going to see if they'll clean off. Yes, they were. They've cleaned completely away. Now this side of the mirror is glass. It's just plain glass. You can clean it with a glass cleaner. The other side is silvered. You can't clean it. It'll go bad. That can be put to one side. And I'll clean the lens here. Clean the outside surface first because it's easier to judge how clean the outside surface is because it's flat and you can see how clean it is by the reflections. The inside surface is harder to see, but once you've cleaned the outside surface it's easier to judge if you've got it clean or not. That looks good. Next I need to assemble these pieces, and I'll need some molybdenum paste. Here I have some molybdenum paste. I'll run some around the inside there. Take our brass bush. Make sure I've got it round the right way. Looking for my mark that I'd scratched on it. There it is. Line up my scratch mark. Drop that into place. Just wipe a little bit of molybdenum on that surface, just a little bit. In this groove, run a little bit of molybdenum there. That's where the spring goes. Get these components ready to assemble. I'll just wipe a little bit on that spring washer. Doesn't need much. Get this correctly in place. Line up the hole. Get our washer in place. Get the screw in place. Check that it moves freely. Do the screw up snug. There's the rangefinder, cleaned, ready to be put back on the camera and adjusted. Fitting the rangefinder back to the camera body, there's a couple of things I like to do. On this example, this is quite an early two. You see there's a little shim plate here. Now that's not present on on the later cameras, only the earlier ones. And it was to change the height of the rangefinder to suit the camera body. I normally put a drop of lacquer on there to stop things from being able to move. And likewise, I put a couple of drops of lacquer on there too, and it stops the rangefinder being able to shift on the body. I take a bit of molybdenum paste and run it across that front post. That's where the arm moves that rangefinder. Being careful not to get your fingers on the glass, put the rangefinder in place and fit the two retaining screws. One you can get at easily through here. The other one has to be dropped down through this hole. I'm checking that that fell in correctly. It looks like it did. holding the rangefinder back firmly and do those 2 screws up tight. It's important to make sure that the arm is free to move. That one looks a bit sticky. I don't know why. I have to take that off and have a look at that. I think the washer may not have been seated correctly. I'll just check that that's tight. It is. It's moving freely now. Pop that back in place. That's better. Get its other one in. Check that that fell into place. No, it didn't. That's better. Do those screws up tight. Check my rangefinder again, make sure it can move freely. It does, that's good. Now I've got to check my adjustment. The horizontal adjustment is made here. This screw is your adjustment screw. This one at the back, that's the lock. Loosen the lock slightly and you make your adjustments here. This is an eccentric. I'm just checking, looking out the window to see what this one goes like. I can see that my horizontal adjustment is quite good, but my vertical adjustment is wrong. So I've got to make adjustments to my vertical adjustment. First I'm going to check that this screw is done up tight. It looks like someone's loosened that because there's a mark on it, but it is tight. I'll check again. My vertical adjustment is well out. There are 2 places that you can change your vertical height adjustment. One is here. If you move this mirror, you will change the alignment of the 2 images. You don't have to move this far at all, it makes a very big change to the vertical alignment. I suggest you leave that one alone. The other thing you can do is there are 2 screws. One here and one here. You can loosen those screws and you can move this front lens upwards or downwards slightly on the arm. That is normally how you would make your adjustments for the vertical adjustment to get the images correctly tracking. Alright, a little bit more about your vertical adjustments. As I've said, you can loosen the screws either side of this front viewfinder lens and move it slightly upwards or slightly downwards to align your images vertically. Now when you look through the viewfinder, as you swing the focus backwards and forwards, one of the two images in the finder will be static and the other one you can call your moving image. If the moving image appears to be higher than the static image in your finder, you need to move this front window, this front lens, upwards. If the moving image appears to be lower in your finder, did I say that right? If the moving image appears lower in your finder, you need to move this lens downwards, and that will raise the height of the moving image. So that's the way that's done. And then of course you have to tighten your screws and check again, and you may well find you need to make that adjustment 2 or 3 times to get it correct. Once you have your images vertically aligned so they're at the same height, you may well have to go back and do your horizontal adjustments again, and so that you have your images correctly aligned both vertically and horizontally. There is one further adjustment that's probably worth mentioning. I'll zoom you in a little bit. You'll see a small screw here. That screw is the infinity stop position. If you find that it's impossible to get the images to come back and meet at the infinity position, it's very likely that that screw is holding this arm too far forward so that it's not enabling the rangefinder to do its job. In which case, if you slacken that screw off by part of a turn, you may well find that that does allow the infinity images to coincide. So that's something to be aware of. This camera I'm now ready to close up. I have my rangefinder adjusted. I have my lock screws all locked in place. I've been very careful to keep this rubber band on here so that my shutter release shaft does not escape. And now all I have to do is check that I haven't left any fingerprints on the finder while I've been working on it. Blow off any dust, and I can see a little speck of dust on the back of that finder there, so I'll just flick that away. Make sure there's no fingerprints on there, nothing on that front lens, so that's all good. I'll zoom you back out. I'm going to close this camera up. Remove my rubber band, and I'll be very careful not to lift this shaft out of the camera. I can fit my shutter release button and my film release button. Check that my shutter release button is correctly aligned. That looks good. Blow out any dust that may have accumulated in the top cover. And see if I can get this back over the shutter release and my film release. That looks correct. So holding this closed finger and thumb, I'm checking my film advance. Check my shutter release, check that the frame counter numbers correctly align in the frame, and everything looks good. I can put my screws in the top cover check everything again, make sure that the shutter releases smoothly. Try the film release button, make sure that pops up and down smoothly too. That's all good. I can put my rewind button knob back on, something through the fork to stop it turning, tighten it up with my fingers, and that camera is ready to go home to its owner. So I hope that your alignment of your rangefinder goes smoothly. Thanks for watching.